Hey guys, I wanted to make a podcast to kind of explain some of the stuff and the equipment that I use when I do these. Lately, I've had some people just asking me, what do you use? How much money was it? How'd you find all this stuff? So that's kind of what I want to do in this and explain to you guys because when I started off, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. So I guess first off, I'm just going to start with what I record on. I record on just an iPhone 8. And on the iPhone 8, I know you can shoot all the way up to 4K footage, which is very, very good footage. I don't shoot on that. I shoot at 1080 at typically 30 frames per second, which is what this is, but you can also do 60 frames. I think the 4K is only limited to 30 frames per second on the iPhone 8. Not sure what the new ones are. I do know one thing that's very intriguing and what I would like to have would be the iPhone 11 where you can use the wide angle lens on video. I know that didn't seem like it would come in handy, but there has been a few times where I've had to move my tripod and my phone and my light all the way back into the corner of a room, and it was very difficult just to get the shot. So a wide angle lens would come in handy on the phone. I guess the next thing up would be the tripod that holds all that. Actually, when I first started, I had a tripod that I'd used for years. I'd had a camera doing photography and stuff and some video with it. And I just used that tripod and it worked great. It wasn't very sturdy at all. And the light, it was very questionable. I would get it set up just right, but if somebody were to have touched it, the whole light and everything would have fell over. So I did use that tripod for just a little bit. It was like a $10 tripod. But I finally realized I needed something better. So I ended up, this is skipping on down. I actually don't think I put it in here, but on my price list, but I ended up getting a different tripod to use for the ring light. It was made just for the ring light. And it is, I think it was like $19 on Amazon. So I bought it. It's very sturdy, and how the ring light mounts up to it, it's perfect. It's made for the ring light versus a tripod I was trying to make work for the ring light. So, like I said, that stand, I don't know, it's not actually a tripod. I mean, it has 3 legs, but it's not like you wouldn't put a camera or anything directly on it. It's made especially for the ring light. Like I said, it was like $20. Ring light. It's a Neewer, I think that's how you say it, Neewer, camera and photo video ring light. It's got 240 LEDs, and it's bright. It's very bright. I've got it on right now in the room at about halfway of what it will do, and it works great. And I know some people would say, well, you don't need a light, and to get started, you don't need one, but it does make a difference. I'll put that in the video. I'll show, with a ring light, without a ring light. But it makes a big difference, and actually my wife wanted it, so we got it, and I'm glad that she did want it because it makes a big difference. I think it makes the videos look a lot better. And it was, it was $79, which seems like a lot of money, but it also came with, so it's got like the clear lenses that go on it, and then it's also got like some amber colored lenses that go on it, which I've never put on it. It would give you a different look, I guess a more warm look, but that's available. Inside of that ring light, it has, I think it's called a hot shoe mount. So I had to buy an adapter. I had to buy a Neewer ball head hot shoe mount is what it's called. It's a ball head. So it slides right in the hot shoe, and then you can adjust whatever you attach to it. You can pivot it any which way. I bought it. It was like $10 on Amazon. And then to attach to it, I bought the Neewer smartphone bracket. I don't know if some of you may know me, some of you may not, and know this about me, but to save like $1, I bought the pink one because it was the cheapest one available. I looked back on Amazon. The pink one's unavailable now. So if you want the black one, it's $10. Not much at all. And it fits. Like I said, I have an iPhone 8, and it fits that phone perfectly. It adjusts, and I have an 8 Plus, excuse me, and it fits that, and then will also fit the iPhone X Plus. So it adjusts pretty far out. I'm not sure about the iPhone 11 if it would fit it or not, but I don't know. I don't have the specs on that. Next up, I have this InnoGear mic stand. I'm saying these names because I'm not exactly sure how to say them, so if I mispronounce them, I'm sorry. But as with all this, I did a lot of research. Like, I didn't just go buy anything, because when I wanted to start this, my whole deal was, I was comparing myself to like these professional podcasters. And I was like, I can't afford that stuff. I can't afford the $500 microphone they're using, or the $200 mic stand, or the studio lights, or a Blackmagic camera, and a solid state SSD. Like all this stuff. Like, that's where my mind was going, and that would have been like $5,000 to $6,000 to get started. I'm gonna do a running total, and in this video, I'm gonna give you the total of what I had, but it was definitely not over $400, and it was over time. I bought this. I got back on my Amazon, and I bought a couple things one year. I bought a couple of things another year. It just over time I bought it and started. Like, my very first podcast I made with Heath Hancock, I just had my iPhone and an old tripod, and the audio wasn't great, the lighting wasn't great. There's a lot of things that I could sit down and pick out that wasn't great, but I can tell you the content was amazing, and the conversation with Heath was amazing. And I think that's the thing to focus on. Like, you don't have to look perfect. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have the most expensive stuff. But if you're putting out good content, if you're doing something that you're passionate about, like, that's what it's all about. And that's why I wanted to get into this. And so that was a journey for me to get to that point where in my mind I was okay with that. You know what? I'm going to buy the cheapest pink phone holder for this ring light that I can find, and I'm cool with that. I don't need the fancy stuff. So I said all that to say that's why I don't know some of these names. Some of this stuff may have came from Japan. I'm not sure. It may be like a very off brand of the gear that you can get. But this mic stand, going back to it, they were $19 a piece. Obviously, I bought two of them, and they're amazing. That's another thing. I've never used any of the fancy stuff, but I don't. Honestly, I don't need the fancy stuff. These work perfect, and they were $19 a piece. You can adjust every which way. Obviously, these little screws, I think I just did it a while ago in the video. I was tightening it up. They come loose. It's okay. Just learning how to work it, knowing what to set up before the video. That way, maybe in the video, you're not trying to tighten it up. Knowing where to position them, like in the shot, to where all this isn't in the way and you're trying to look through it and it's covering me up. There's things you have to work around, but overall, the functionality of it is great. It works great. It's got a little screw on the bottom here, and it just clamps down on the table. You tighten it up. I have ran into, certain tables, certain spots where I'm doing a video, it doesn't fit. That's why in some of my videos, I've just held the microphone. I don't have to have this. Again, this is something that is not necessarily needed, but it is nice to have. So there's times where I've just worked around it. Don't have to have it. That's cool. I've got a microphone. I'll use it. So moving on to the microphone. Again, I researched and researched and researched. If you go to Google and just type in best microphone for podcasts, there's probably not going to be anything under $100 that shows up. Again, you can just leave fate to Google and whatever it tells you, or you can do some research or just some trial and error. I think I may have bought one of these to start with, just to see, like, okay, I don't want to get screwed. I don't want to buy something that's cheap and doesn't work. So let me just buy one and see how it is. I paid $14 for this microphone. But one big factor, and this is how I do a lot of my stuff on Amazon, and which I'm sure many people do. Many people are very good at using Amazon, but I looked at the ratings that it got, the reviews that it got. Obviously, when you're looking at ratings and reviews, you're going to see everything from it was the most perfect thing I've ever had, it was like gold, all the way to the box was damaged when I received it, this is crap, like I would never buy this again. Like, you're going to see those. But I always focus, like, was there much content in the middle in between those? What's the average person saying? Obviously, stuff is going to show up broken sometimes. And then who knows, the 5-star reviews may have been paid, somebody paying them to do it. I don't know. But what's the overall review is what I'm trying to get. And on this microphone, I just looked it up all ago. It's got 4.5 stars, and that's with 2,500 reviews. That's a lot of reviews for Amazon, especially for a $13 or $14 microphone. So I felt really good about it. Bought it. Obviously, they're very good. And then I bought these little fuzzy ball things. I don't know what you call them, to put over it. They were like $4 for 2 of them. I do know if I were to buy the best podcasting mic that I would have Googled, it probably would have picked up the sound a lot better. I do know with these, you need to be directly up on it. You need to be speaking straight down into it. You can't really talk off to the side like this because it doesn't pick it up as well. I have learned that. So again, it's not, $14 versus $100 plus. Like, I can move this around with me and talk and save a whole lot of money versus, oh my gosh, I got to have the best, Rode microphone that's $500. Yes, they are that expensive. They can spend that much money, but you don't have to. Again, $14, so $28 for 2 microphones. They actually came with, I forget what kind of cord they came with. Actually, these XLR cords came with this mic stand. I forgot to say that a while ago. These cords came with it. So I don't even use the cords that actually came with this microphone. I think it was an XLR here from the microphone to like a 1/4-inch plug, which I'm going to get to in a minute on my Tascam voice recorder. I could use that, but I opted out just to use the XLR. I may be wrong. Using the 1/4-inch may be better. I'm not sure. But this is what I'm using. So moving on to the Tascam voice recorder. This is a Tascam DR40. It, again, was something that I researched. After my podcast with Heath, like I said, the very first one I did, the audio wasn't that great. And Heath is his friend that, just kind of, I kept making excuses like, I can't do any podcasts because the audio won't be good. I had tried some before. Just trying to dial in the audio using the Apple earbud microphones, and it just never could find anything that I liked. And, I did that podcast with him mainly because of his encouragement. He was like, man, just start putting it out. Like I said earlier, it's just about the content. It's not about how high quality of stuff you have. So I started with that. But after that, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to do this. I want to do it right. I'm going to keep doing them, but I'm also going to research how can I do it better. So started looking at where people were using voice recorders. And then in post-production, Adobe Premiere is what I use. You can, so let me back up. This Tascam records onto a SD card inside of here. Then when I get done, I can take that SD card out. I can take the video off my phone, put it into Adobe Premiere, and in 2 clicks, and then maybe like a minute later, it will sync all the audio and video up. Perfect. Every time, except for once. I did a podcast with Larry Garrity. We did it at Big City Coffee, and I set my phone up on my tripod, got everything set up like I'd done before. I'd done 3 or 4 podcasts before that, and hit record on the phone, hit record on my voice recorder, took off, did a podcast. Great podcast. You should go check it out. I get home, maybe that night, the next day, go to do the post-production stuff in Adobe Premiere, and dump the video, dump the audio, hit synchronize, and it just kept trying to do it, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't sync up. And I kept thinking and thinking and thinking. I'm like, what's wrong? Like, why is this not working? I've done it the same way I always have. The only thing I can figure out, and I'm 99% sure this is what was wrong, inside the coffee shop, it was so loud, the background noise, that my iPhone, when I hit record, was only picking up everybody else's voice, and it couldn't, like, Mr. Garrity and I's conversation wasn't being picked up very well by my iPhone. So then when I was to record it, it didn't have those, it couldn't match the peaks and stuff in the volume with what I had on my SD card and what I had on my phone to match it all up. I ended up somehow, it took me a while, but just listening to the watching our mouths move and like moving the audio, and I got it all. But you got to have some clear audio on your iPhone for this to match up to. Now, obviously, the iPhone just doesn't do that great audio, but that's why you use this. So this, you can, obviously you got a microphone you're talking into. It's a lot more direct. It's all right here. A lot of the background noise actually fades out. You know, if you go to that podcast with Mr. Garrity and I, there were customers in the coffee shop. It was fairly loud, but, and I couldn't even match up the audio on my iPhone because it was picking up all the background noise and not our conversation. So that kind of shows you how good this is, because in that podcast, you can't hear everybody else. This Tascam does a really good job of just picking up what's right here. Now, there are a ton of different settings on this, and I've had to Google a lot. I've had to read a lot on how to use it. I don't know why, but it's difficult for me to learn how to use this. I feel like hands-on stuff, I catch on pretty quick. But the audio, like mono audio, stereo, the inputs, the phantom power for the microphone, the input level, there's so much, and I'm not even going to try to go in detail to explain what all of it is. You got your decibels, your peak, there's a million things on here. And I guess the one thing I can say with this video, obviously I'm not going to explain all that because I don't know it that well, but I figured it out. And I think I figured it out because I wanted to. I wanted to learn it, and I'm still learning it. I figured it out enough to make it work to where I can do a video, to where I can do a podcast and get good audio. But it took a lot of learning, trial, error. I had it set up for dual XLR microphones, because when I do a podcast, I have my microphone. My guest has a microphone. We have a conversation. Well, to do that, you have to set it up one way. To do it with just one mic, you have to set it up a different way. So before I started this, I had to set it up, turn it on. I did a little short recording, played it back, make sure it sounds good, make sure I'm doing it right. My biggest fear is I'm going to start a podcast and I'm doing it wrong, and I'm not going to catch the audio. I'm not going to catch, the conversation, which is the main thing you want to catch. Kind of going back to the iPhone, I ran into this where some of the first ones I didn't put my phone in airplane mode, and I would get a phone call in the middle of it, and that would stop the video. I think one time maybe I was shooting in 1080 at 60 frames per second, and the file size of that is just huge, and I was actually shooting it on a different phone, and that phone couldn't hold all that information, so halfway through the video stopped. But I had the audio, which is the real content I want people to hear, not to see. You can't see audio on my videos, but that's the main thing. Like, that's the heart of these that I want to get out. That's the message. That's the vision, the passion, that I'm doing. So you always want to make sure you have good audio. Video, that's just like supplemental, but audio, if you've ever listened to something with bad audio and it has great video, like, you probably won't listen to it very long because you can't tell what the story is. You can't tell what it's about. You don't really know what's going on. So audio is very important. So I always double check, triple check my audio on these to make sure I'm recording right. So I feel like I'm rambling on, but going back, you get your two inputs here for two microphones. That's all you can do as far as microphone. It also has two external mics here, which you can also, I think, like I said, I haven't set it all up that way before, but I think you can do your two mics, and then you could also have this recording externally. I've never recorded anything with these external mics, so I can't tell you the quality of the audio that comes from them. It also has a, up here in the top right corner, it's got a little battery, just like your iPhone does, and it will tell you how much battery you have left. I have had that happen 2 or 3 times in the middle of a podcast. The batteries would die. Luckily, I would just stop it. I would not say anything to the person. I'd say, hey, let me change my batteries. Wouldn't say anything to them until I got the batteries changed, and I would just start back. And I didn't want to talk to him while I was changing the batteries because I want to record all this conversation. So I would just stop talking to him, change the batteries, start back, and try to, maybe back up a few sentences in the conversation we had, and then start over. So now I pack batteries with me, and I try to have 3 bars of batteries, which is as much as it can have, like full charge when I start a podcast. Because a few times I've had 2 bars on here, and I'm like, oh, well, it just went to 2 bars. Well, it was really fixing to go to 1 bar, and then, halfway through a podcast, it dies. So that's what I try to do with that. I've also got, kind of moving on to the next thing, it's got an output here for your headphones. So right now I've just got one set of headphones I'm using. But when I use 2 sets, I just have a splitter that comes out of here. They make a splitter, that 3.5 millimeter splitter that comes out. Then I plug both my headphones into it. And then we can both hear what's coming out. So then going from that up to the headphone, these are some Monoprice headphones. Well, let me back up. Tascam DR40. I looked it up on Amazon. I couldn't find what I paid for it because it's discontinued now. I think I paid like $150 for it. I probably got it on sale again. I looked at the reviews. I don't even know if there were many reviews on Amazon for it. So I looked at, outside sources, just Google DR40 reviews, and just great reviews is all I found for it. So there was another model, a newer model I could have got when I purchased this one, and it was like, I remember $380. Again, I don't remember what model it was, but I didn't buy that one because I kind of just looked at what more does it offer, and it wasn't much more. A lot of these things that I bought, and I'm going to put the pictures on, and you can kind of see below what I bought at a show, the new and improved, camera holder. And it may be $2 or $3 more, but there's really nothing different about it. The functionality of it isn't any better. So I guess my big thing would be, you don't always have to have the newest, biggest, best, most popular thing. Maybe you want to gamble and get something that looks like it's good, that looks like it's very functional, and see if it is. Or, just like this DR40, it wasn't the newest, it wasn't the greatest. I knew it was probably fixing to be unavailable, but I could buy it brand new for a good price, and people were using them and had great results out of it. That's all I need. I don't need the newest, biggest, fancy thing. So like I said, $150, $160 maybe I paid for this. Now the DR40X is the new model, and it's $180, which still, for what this does, that's, great price. Back to the headphones. Got these headphones. Like I said, when I first started, I used Apple. It's not earbuds. That's or whatever they are now. The wireless ones. That's not what it was. But now, it was the ones with the 3.5 millimeter jack. I used them, and they work fine. There's been podcasts I've done where we're sitting in a public place and it's very loud, but you put these on and you forget that everyone else is around you. I could hear something if somebody was yelling at me, but when I'm having a conversation with someone, it kind of just fades everything out. It's more personal. So these are Monoprice headphones. They're over the ear headphones. They remind me of grade school when we'd go in and back in the day get on the computer and we'd have to like take wipies and wipe down the headphones, the big headphones that fit on you. That's what these feel like. They're comfortable. They do get a little hot after an hour or so of talking to somebody, but they have very good audio that comes through them. And they were $23 a piece. It's cheap. Again, I think they're still available on Amazon, but when I went to buy them, there was a newer model or there was a more expensive model and it looked really cool and I really wanted them, but it was twice the price. And I'm like, I don't, I just need something that's functional, not something that's the coolest looking or the newest or it's just all about functionality. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this. I just want people to know you don't have to have the biggest, best, greatest stuff to start. And that can go for podcasting. That can go for a million different things. So if you're wanting to get into podcasting, watch this. Not like I'm a pro, but I have just laid out some of the stuff I've bought and where I got it and the price points and, how much money you have to spend to be in the game at this level. But maybe that's something else, a different passion that you have. Who knows what it is other than podcasting. But maybe this can be something to say, hey, I'm going to research some stuff that maybe isn't the newest or greatest or best. Or, are there other alternative options of how I can do this? And it fits my budget or it fits where I'm at right now. Whether it's writing a book or if it's working on cars or building a car or, doing carpentry work, whatever it is, whatever you want to get into. You don't have to have the biggest, fanciest stuff. I was talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about, YouTube and the internet and, you could probably Google a million ways to DIY stuff for cheap, and there's all kinds of resources out there. And if you're sitting back and you're saying, well, I don't know how to do something or I can't afford to do something or, that may just mean you're lazy and you haven't went out and looked for, options of how to do stuff because there's a million different things you can buy to make it work. So this is what I bought for this podcast stuff. You can get in this really cheap. And, going back to the Adobe Premiere, that's what I used to edit. It was very intimidating to start using it because there's so much you can do with it. And I have not even skimmed the surface of what you can do with it. But some of my first ones, I just used like the iMovie on my phone, which is more than enough to do. For me, I used that a few times and then I was like, I kind of want more of a challenge. I want to learn something new. So I started using the Adobe Premiere. But I could have stayed with iMovie and been fine. The content is still the same. Even with Adobe Premiere, I started using it. I didn't know how to do stuff. And I would just go to YouTube, Google, or go to YouTube and type in how to crop a video on Adobe Premiere. And there's somebody on there with a 2-minute video that tells you exactly how to do it. And, I would normally pull it up on my phone and have it sitting there. They're telling you step 1, go to file. And I would pause it, go to file, open it up, go to whatever setting I need to do, unpause it, go do this, I'd go do that. Just follow it step by step. So, like I said, if you're wanting to learn something today, the day we live in, there's a million resources out there for you, no matter what it is. So I hope this helped you, and I hope maybe to see some people start some stuff. Maybe you've been having excuses why not to. But hey, if this fits your price point, and you can start. And I want to again emphasize the point that really all you need to do this would be some type of recorder. I'd say the majority of us have a phone that can record video. Start with that. Hold it up in your face and just record something. I've got another little thing right here. I don't know how much this was, but it's a little tripod. You can do all kinds of little things with it. You can spread these out. You can adjust everything on it. I really think this was like $4 at Walmart. You could get this. You could set it up in front of you, put your phone in it, and record. That's all you need. So $4 in your phone, you could start. Again, you may not have the best audio. You may not have the best lighting, but what's the content? What are you putting out? Is it something you're passionate about? Like, go for it. What's holding you back? I think a lot of times we make excuses as far as, oh, well, I don't have the resources or the means to buy things. But really, all that is just fear. And we're scared to do something. We're scared to step out and try. So I just want to encourage you to try. This is kind of like a testimonial of how I tried and where I'm at and what I used to get here. Again, it's nothing fancy or elaborate, but this may be weird to say, but I'm proud of myself because I still think back to all the excuses I had as to why not to do something. But when I really started researching it, I kind of disproved a lot of my excuses, and they weren't true. I could afford this, maybe not all at once, maybe not to the extreme that I wanted it to be, but I could make this happen, and I did. And I don't know, it's just something about when you have a passion or a dream and you just go after it, and it doesn't have to be like crazy successful, but like, I'm doing this. Like, this is what I envisioned 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm doing it. And to be honest, like, I never envisioned like 1 million followers watching a video or interviewing, like, I don't know, like, the people I've wanted to interview, I've been interviewing, but it's just cool to do something and to see it happen. I just reached out to people that I thought were interesting, and it seems selfish sometimes when I'm doing it, but like, I just enjoy these conversations with people, and I put them out because maybe someone else would. And I think back to when I was younger, like, I would really enjoy this stuff, and so maybe there's someone younger or older or my age that would really enjoy this, but maybe doesn't have the means to do this, or this isn't their passion, but they do enjoy it, to listen to it. It's not their passion to go do it, but they do enjoy listening to it. So that's why I do it. Because I want to be able to give that back to people. So I hope this made sense. I hope you get something from it, and stay tuned for the next podcast.